simple SEO solutions with Google Business Profile. Let's go. Good morning, and thank you for being here. And I'm excited that you are having a wonderful Friday. Listening, happy Friday. And I hope you're well. I hope you're excited. I hope you're going to listen to something that is going to help you grow and know more about your business and about exactly what you need to do today when it comes to your content, when it comes to your strategy, when it comes to your technical setup, and when it comes to showing up on Google, showing up on these search engines that are very visible and are also very highly capable of giving your content and your connections and your social media and your website, your emails. You can really build something strong, especially when you have grown over time and you think about your business and you think about the things that you do for your business. We're going to talk about these today. Welcome, Opeyemi. Thanks for being here. Lana, Anna, thanks for being here. Onyediga Chukwu, thanks for being here too. And I appreciate you, Dr. Fashion. What's up, Lou? Hey, it's a rhyme over here. What's up? Happy Friday. I'm excited you're here because this is a marketing club. This is the We Don't Play podcast. This is the space where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So we're going to talk about some winning solutions because I don't feel like losses are losses. I feel like they are lessons. But if you don't learn from the lessons, it's going to be another loss or another lesson you have to learn on top of the lesson that you didn't learn. So it's exciting to be here with you today. And we're going to talk about this. What's up, Dr. Fashion? Happy Friday. Hey.
Hello. Hope you're doing well.
I am well. Thanks for being here. For those who are probably hearing you for the first time on Clubhouse, please let them know about you, who you are, and just tell them one thing that you want them to take away today when they're listening in.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Brittany, also known as Dr. Fashion. I'm a creator, but also a business consultant. And I work with business owners, and I also work with companies like YouTube, Meta, and more, just helping them to create new tools for creators and consumers on their platforms. And if anybody could take anything away from today is just understanding how important it is to be visible online. Yellow pages is no longer the thing. So this is a really good topic because I was having this conversation with an entrepreneur the other day. So I'm excited to see you and hear what you're going to share.
Thank you, Dr. Fashion. Appreciate you for being here. And that's a very good question too, because when you said yellow pages, I was like, yeah, that's different,
right?
You know.
That was the thing. I remember, over a decade or so, it was a thing where Google Business wasn't really, this was like way over 10 years ago, but Google Business wasn't that thing for a lot of businesses. It was like putting your business in the yellow pages, passing out tons of flyers, which some people still do, but it's not as effective as it was in the 90s because everybody's finding what they need through SEO keywords and just searching on social media. So things have been changing.
Yes, they have. A lot of things have changed over time. And, you just got me thinking because there was a video I watched. And I don't know if you've heard this story before. And it was on my feed on Instagram. And it was talking about how Google Maps started And it was very intriguing because I got to learn a little more about a few things because I love to learn. That's just me. Like the more I know, the more I don't know. So it's just always exciting to learn something new. And I said, I'll tell you guys about this before we even get started. So we can just, take it back, go back to the basics. So back then, when Google was known for what Google was known for in the beginning, there were different elements today, or let me say there are different elements today that weren't there then. So when we go back to the time when for you to have maps, you'd have to pay a subscription, you have to pay some fee instead of going from analog to digital or from manual to digital or from paper to digital. You'd have to go through a process, right? So there were other companies that were having maps and subscription fees and things that you could pay for. Now, Google decided to release their product, Google Maps, for free. And when it all blew up is when Google Maps connected with Apple, when Apple dropped the first time. I think that was 2007, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And around that time when Google was installed or integrated to Apple and Apple became the product everybody had or has now, then you had Google Maps for free. So what happened is that you had instant access to a community that was never available to you for free. So that's why Google Maps is still free today. And of course, now there's Apple Maps. So we're talking about local SEO today. I just said, let me bring it back because sometimes we talk about these things and we forget about the basics and we love to understand the fundamentals so that when we're scaling back or when we're scaling forward or we're looking back or we're looking forward, we have hindsight, we have foresight, we have insight, we have understanding. So the winning local SEO solution today in 2026 is heavily focused on how Google knows about your business. Because before it was Google My Business and it switched to Google Business Profile, GBP. So with your Google Business Profile, a lot of us don't think about Bing places because there's also a Bing quote unquote business profile. So if you have Google and Bing for your website, and you also have Bing and Google for your business, if it's a local business that has an infrastructure, that has a brick and mortar, that has a walk-in, that has a building, that is corporate, then yes, you would also have a mailbox. So that mailbox would be attached to your Google Maps, to your Apple Maps, to your Waze Maps, to your other maps. So when you look at it from the long-term plan, welcome Ashley. Hey, sweetie, Celeste, and shit, thanks for being here too. All these different things are going to take a whole new stand. And when you think about it, thank you, Sanchi, you think about it and you're like, okay, we're going to do local SEO. And what does that even mean? Local SEO just means that if you have a product plus, or let me do it this way, product/service, right, in brackets, plus location, which would be city or state or province. So when you have those two already, you have a product, you have a service, you have a location. Now, that in itself is SEO, but how will that look like local SEO? How that would look like local SEO is when you have a Facebook profile, you have an Instagram profile, you have a TikTok profile, you have a LinkedIn company profile, you have a Pinterest profile, you have a Google business profile that you are bringing from other sources that are third party to Google Business Profile. Because now on Google, you can actually add within Google Business Profile, this is for Google Business Profile, you can add your social media links. So that means that if you have social media links that you could post from your, let's say from your Google, and your Google, let's say, let me start off with Google Search Console and then I'll come down to Google Maps. If you have Google Search Console and you have your website, then that means Google has claimed, or you've claimed your property on Google. So now with Google, Google knows that you have a website that they can rank on google.com or Google, because they're different search engines too. So if you're in a location and people are searching for your content, then as a business, the first rule I would say, or the first thing you should check off your list if you haven't checked it off before, is to look at your search console and then do your domain.com. There's a section that says inspect URL. And then you do your domain.com slash, let's say, let's role play actually. Put your business in the chat. Like, what would you say your business is in 1 or 2 words? And as you're putting it there, we'd love to hear from you, Celeste. What are your thoughts? Good morning. And let them know about you and what your, we want people to take up, in the room as one thing that they could think about as they, process the information that we're having today. Welcome.
Good morning. Hey, Dr. Fashion. Always good to see you and everybody in the audience. About me, I am a strugglepreneur like everybody else. But I've been owning a service-based business where I live here in Portland, Oregon in the U.S. for 15 years. And about 8, well, wait, let me think. Yeah, about 8 years in, maybe 9 years, I turned that into my full-time income generating source, which I'm really proud of. It's hard being, building a business from the ground up. But it is in the kids entertainment industry. So winning local SEO is what I do. So I listen, this is my jam. This is what I'm all about. My biggest advice as Favour goes along, please take notes, because applying these little things will get you big wins in the end. And this really, to me, is all about niching down. You cannot sometimes, when it comes to marketing, conquer the whole wide world. Start in your own backyard first and then expand. So I'll turn it back over to you, Favour.
Thank you, Celeste. Yes, there is a lot of information about local SEO that is talked about. And sometimes if we do the little things, like you said too, that it changes everything. It changes the whole play, because now you're operating at full capacity, knowing exactly what the limits are. Just like when you're driving, you know what the speed limit is. That's the same way you need to know what your SEO limits are. It's very important. It sounds like it's like, what does that mean? Even when you look at Google Search Console, the first thing you see is a dashboard. Visually, it says start now. It looks like a search engine. Like when you play a game back in the day on your PlayStation or Nintendo or whatever you were playing, or Sega, and you're playing a game, and when you hit start now, it's a button that you have to push to start. Now it's in cars that people push to start their cars. So if you think about that same kind of logic and ask yourself, as a website, have I ever pushed to start my car? Because my car, I can have a website, because there are 1.1 billion websites, but there's not a lot of websites that are ranking on Google. Not a lot of them, because Google can't tell you to rank on their website, because everybody's on Google doing what they're searching for and they're finding based on what Google says. So Google has built Google Maps for free to Apple users, and the same thing applies with podcasts. Apple Podcasts is free, but Apple Music, you have to pay for it. How does that make sense? So you think about this, because I look at it from 2 different ways. When I see entertainment business and I look at the way you build your local SEO, is very important, because now if you know that Google owns YouTube, then you know that if somebody's looking for something that is in your area and you don't have a short that actually says the words in the title and matches the article and matches your context or matches your captions or matches your thumbnail, if it's not sending the same message and one or two or three are broken, it's like trying to drive a car with 25% of spark plug activity. It's not going to work. You'd rather have 75% than 25%. You'd rather have 100%, but 25% is worse than 75%. So when you look at it like that, you ask yourself, how fast am I driving my car, which is my website? How fast is it performing? Am I getting something called a crawl budget? Because a crawl budget means that Google has to scan your website, and Google doesn't have time to keep coming to your website. That's why a lot of businesses have pages on their website that are not on Google. Even though your article is fantastic, even if you put all the SEO keywords and everything in there, great. But if you don't have structured data, it's going to impede your growth when it comes to creating long-term value online, because what you're doing is you're creating an experience to have a faster move, because now people are wondering, okay, how can we do this? How can we make it more interesting? Like right now, I have a call with a client later today, and they having, it's a technical issue because, and I'll just share it with you so you can just know how serious this is when it comes to local SEO. Just to give you a quick case study, we're still in the process, so it's still very early. So he's like, okay, we're getting a downward turn. What's going on? We're losing traffic. I was like, okay, I think when somebody is seeing something in a different way, they're not seeing it from the same way you're seeing it. And one thing I've come to realize in communication is if there's anything that you say, the way the person responds back to you is highly dependent on what they received. If you've ever played broken telephone before, try it out and see. Just try it out. So when you look at it from a long-term perspective, right, and you're kind of using the broken telephone as a method of, let me say as a methodology to understand what I'm talking about. If you're on LinkedIn saying something, you're on Facebook saying something, you're on YouTube saying something, you're on Google saying something, you're on your website saying something, you're on your podcast saying something, you're on email saying something, you're on an interview somewhere saying something, you're on a feature somewhere saying something, and those things are saying the same thing, and you're the same person, and you're the same business, you're the same brand, then all those links, all those backlinks, all those referring links will all come back to you. So if there are things that you want to be showing up for and you're not showing up for them because you don't have them, you can't say that the problem is you don't have them or you're having lower traffic because of that. The reason why you have lower traffic is because the thing that you want to rank for is available, but the very thing that you want to see happen is not happening because it's not available as a link, as a uniform resource locator, which is a URL. So if your URL is not building, I would say, relationships between other websites like Google, like Bing, like ChatGPT, like Perplexity, like Claude, and others. I just got a message just now. So yeah, so we're definitely going to have a meeting and talk about this. So this is something I'm working in real time. I just got the message now and I'm like, okay, I'll set up the meeting so we can talk about this. Because when I look at things from a technical setup, everybody is like, you have a good content team, you have things happening. So it's like, what is the actual issue? So the issue is when you have a website and your website is not tagging things back, it changes. And I'll actually show you a quick test on this, Dr. Fashion. I'll do this for you because, I appreciate you and what you do. And if this is happening on your end and you spot it and it actually is there and it's taken off, it's going to be a big change for you. And I want to share this with you. I've talked about it before, and it's something that is for on Wix. When you have something called a no index tag, because this is for local SEO base. When you have a no index tag and it's on, it blocks out the information across the web. So let me just go a little deeper. I'm just going to go a little deeper. I'll just dive a little deeper. When your website is being scanned on Google, Perplexity, on Claude, on Bing, wherever you're showing up on whatever website, what's happening is that you have something called, there are two things actually. There's sitemap. Actually, there's three. There's sitemap, which is your website. There's robots, which is your website. And there is RSS, which is really simple syndication for your podcast. Those are three different types of, I can say, languages, machine learning languages. Yeah, let me say it that way. So if one is broken, let's just focus on the website. Sitemap, robots. If you have a great sitemap, but the robots are not connecting back to the sitemaps, the sitemaps is like a tree that is planted, that is great. Like there's nothing wrong with the tree at all. Absolutely nothing wrong with the tree, right? It's sturdy, it's strong, it's producing fruit, it's great, it's there. But because you have this tree, which is your sitemap, because your sitemap is, you have blogs, you have content, you have this, you have that. Now with the robots, if you're transmitting signals, you're sending signals, you're receiving signals, you're transmitting signals, you're receiving signals, but the robots is now, let's say you have a fence, and this fence, it's like, think about it like foil. You don't want to put foil paper in a microwave, because if you put foil paper in a microwave, it's just not going to end well. So there are things you shouldn't do, right? So I'm just giving you guys a very clear graphic example so that you can actually use it as an analogy. So the same way you can't put foil in a microwave, right, is the same way that if you put a robot's tag and it says no index, it means that you're telling any bot that's coming to transmit signals from this domain or from this platform or from this website that, hey, I want to get some content from here, but I can't get it because there's a tag that has been instructed that has now deflected the code or deflected the script or deflected the mission. So that allows someone to say, okay, no index. All right, moving on to the next page. So you have a great website, a great tree producing fruit, but nobody is coming to eat that fruit because nobody is being told about it outside, because Google is not sending anybody from them to you. I hope this makes sense. Because when you think about your content, your websites, like with Wix, I noticed that by default, they have it on. And I was like, why is this happening? Because I was seeing other clients' websites who would go there and I'll be like, that's the first thing I check. And I'm like, why is this thing on? And then I checked for myself. I was like, this thing is actually on. So I'll talk about it with you, Dr. Fashion, but I just wanted to just highlight that. But when you hear about this, Dr. Fashion or Celeste, what do you think about, when you see you're trying to create content and you want this content as a business to locally show up for you because you have a service that you want to provide. And all the people want to do is to get results and get traffic, get engagement, get people that are interested and have conversations. It's not that hard to do, but the technical setup is crazy. So how does someone think about it from end to end?
Oh, I was waiting to see if she was gonna speak first. So okay, you're talking about, can you repeat the question? Sorry, I'm on toddler duty today. My toddler does not have daycare.
Oh,
Sorry.
no. No worries. So, for somebody who is building or starting out or wants to have content but doesn't apply local SEO to their strategy, what's the best thing they should do and what should they be avoiding?
So I think the first thing to me, this all starts with doing keyword research. Well, I won't ask, I'll just say, I feel like some people, yeah, yes, it's a kitty cat. She's looking down on Sanchit's profile picture. um, I feel like some people do the guesswork when it comes to like guessing, okay, what is it that people are searching for in my local area without actually doing the research. I feel like SEO is so hyper specific. Like, for example, I recently ranked for a local keyword, but if you put on the state, I don't rank. So it's like you have to decide when you do the research, what do you really want to rank for? Because sometimes it can bite you in the butt. And once you do that, no, you can't push it, honey. No, you cannot push the cat. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick because yeah, it's going downhill. But see, it's gonna mess it up if you push it. Just wait. So when you do the research and then you hyper focus on which keyword you want, my biggest advice is to go for the ones that don't have as much competition. That's an easy way to get some, easy wins. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want to, rank for this keyword. But there's probably another keyword that's a little more niche that's still in the same realm of what you want to rank for, but it's just going to be easier for you to accomplish that goal. So that's what I'm going to say there. And I'm going to land this plane. Say bye. Bye.
That is so cute. What? That was actually cute. For being here, and this is a unique experience, and this alone is just everything. And thank you, Celeste, for your feedback. Thank you, Sanchit, for being here too, because that I'm sure lit up a lot of people's mornings right now. So you think about this and you ask yourself, as a business, as an owner, as a manager, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you can fill in the blank, right? And ask yourself, okay, what is the winning local SEO solution? That's the actual question. And if you're going to use Google Business Profile, then one thing that you need to look at is having your website as a connecting factor. So write this down. You need Google Business Profile. That's what you have already that you want to focus on. So to attach to that, the second thing you need is your website. And the third thing you need is your social media. When you have your website and your social media connected, meaning that if you go to Facebook, if you go to LinkedIn, and let's say I go to your LinkedIn and I look at the company profile URL link and I see that it says HTTPS : fill in the blank. And then when I go to your actual website, I don't see some things based on the sitemap I mentioned earlier and the robot. If those two don't work together, it's kind of like left leg, right leg. Because if they don't walk together, meaning that, hey, move this way, move that way, signal this, signal that. If that doesn't happen, then I can say the nervous system and the condition of the website is going to be performing at a lesser rate, because you have a lot of content on your website that it's not just web traffic, it's also image traffic, it's also news traffic, it's also video traffic. So if you have a local SEO solution, what happens is when you have a website, that means your website is connected to Google Search Console. So when you're connected to Google Search Console, your website also is connected within the setup of your business. There are some businesses that they have something called events. Some businesses may have shopping. Some businesses may have other parameters that are there that may not be in other websites, because every website is different. You may be doing products or services. So these are the things that will be very different to think about. And when you ask yourself as a business, how am I going to locally win when there's so much noise on social media? The answer is to get out of social media and go to your search engines and ask yourself, if I'm not here, who is? Because somebody is there. That's not you. So if you're not there, your question is, why are they there? Or how did they get there? And you'll be surprised. Some people have been there for years. There's an article I wrote about RSS feed distribution this week or last week, and someone has been using that and talking about it, which is really good. But at the same time, it's also not a saturated audience. So it's very specific, like Celeste said. When you go for those audiences that are very specific, which is about 15% of the new searches, which is over 8.5 billion searches a day. So if you're getting 15% of that, and out of that 15%, you're getting at least 1% of the keyword value into your domain. And because it's local, let's say there's 1 million searches. Welcome, Zizi. Nathaniel, good to see you as well. Nilufa, I see you as well. Omikia, Sam, thanks for being here too. Mahadevan, Guy, Sui. I also see you too, Panshiri, I hope I said it correctly, and Nathaniel, and I also see you, Soka, too. Thanks for being here, too. Appreciate you guys for being here. Happy Friday. If you want to get more information like this, just to let you know, the link available at the top will take you to my link. So access there if you want to get more emails, newsletters. I'm going to be sending out something today because I've talked about all week about the cost of cheap SEO all the way through understanding your business, understanding your feed, understanding your podcast. What's the difference between a podcast download and a unique listen? I've talked about these things, so I'm going to be breaking them down this weekend so that you can check them out. And as well as being here, happy Women's History Month. And I hope you're having a wonderful time and enjoying your day. If you're in the US, or if rather you're in North America, get ready for daylight savings if that applies to you too this Sunday, just letting you know. So when you look at your business in 2026 and you are creating value and you have your Google Search Console, which is free, by the way. Google Maps is free. Google Business is free. Why are all these products from Google free? But your Google Workspace, you got to pay for that. Your Google Domains, which you used to pay for, is now Squarespace domains. Z is laughing. So you ask yourself, Google is making free products. There's Google Keep, there's Google Docs, there's Google Drive, we can keep going on. And we know why Google Maps was free. And I talked about the history of how it started. So when you look at all these things and you match it up, you ask yourself, why? Now look at Apple. They just dropped the new 17 products. Boom, there you go, spring. Right in the before, like just perfect timing. So now it's changing how things are. People are now thinking about it. They're like, okay, things are in motion. And you're asking yourself, okay, what does this mean? Google just updated their core updates. I talked about this last week on February 27th. They just finished their core updates and now they're going to be prioritizing local content. So I'm saying this thing specifically for a reason. Welcome, Judith, because I'm not just talking about this. This is research. This is conversation that's happening. This is social audio. So when you look at your website, when you look at your content, if Google is going to be supplying more local content because it dropped from about 15 megabytes to about 2 megabytes worth of data, which is a lot. And I won't even go into that one, what that means, because that's a whole different conversation. But technically, in a nutshell, it's Google is going to prioritize more local content and it's going to chunk more sizes for businesses that have more topical authority and not just AI generated content, because it's everywhere now. AI generated content is everywhere. Blogs, it's everywhere. So what separates you from the next person? And if it's not a blog, it's a page. If it's not a page, it's a domain. If it's not a domain, it's a hosting. It's a robot. It's a sitemap. So when you look at these things today, ask yourself, where are we going in 2026? So when you have a Google business profile, it's important to look at these things and also use your Google business profile effectively by bringing it to your social media. I'll give you an example. There's a client that we were working with back in 2019, and they're doing so well right now. They're in Walmart, they're on Amazon, it's a family business, and they're doing so well. And the owner, she had an issue with alopecia with her hair, and she built a solution to fix and to help women, or just help men, just help people in general with natural products and natural ways of treating that. And actually she revived her hair, and she's living a great life. It's amazing. Her daughter plays basketball. Like it's a great thing, and we're still friends till this day. And when we met, she was thinking, okay, I need to get my products out there. She has her connections, and she had about like a good couple thousands of subscribers up on email, and about, let's say, less than 200 subscribers on YouTube. Now, we spent about 18 months to like process the whole thing. And right now it's just literally just running on its own, like a well-oiled machine, let me say, because when we focus on local, because her business is local, she's going to be shipping from a local point. And when I talk about local, I always think about, and I always mention this too, and I'll be bringing this up later on this month when it comes to zip code marketing. As a business, when you're operating as a business, your business is operating from a corporate location, and your zip code is highly based on what's going on around it. And that's why you decided to be within that zip code. Now, when you're on Google Maps, when you're on Google business profile, right? People just set up Google business profiles and then set it and forget it, which is the thing. And then it's spray and pray. We can't be doing that now, because there's so many things that we have to go through as a checklist that will help you as a business to bypass the noise. And Google is giving you this opportunity right now. And you know what's so interesting? The ball is not even in your court. That's what I even said it. I said this last week. The ball is not even in your court as a business. You have to set it up in a way that you build the court, you build the basketball court, you build this, build the space. The only way to create capacity is by building it. And you can also do that the other way. The only way you want to build capacity is by creating it. So if you look at stadiums and you see the capacity, it's because people can fit in this because of that. So as a business, Google Business Profile has given you, I think it's about 30 listed options you can have for services. So imagine you have 3 services you offer, 5 services you offer, but Google has given you 30. It's kind of like saying you have a credit card and you can spend X amount of dollars, but you only spend X amount of dollars, but you could spend more if you want to, but you choose not to, not because you know it's there, it's because you don't know it's there. That's the difference. So these are the things that if you knew, you'd be like, oh, I didn't know as a nonprofit you could get Google grants. How do you know that? You don't know. So how do you process what you don't know? So when you have a business as a local business, your SEO solution within Google Business Profile is to set up your Google Business Profile, because when you do that, you actually improve the potential of your Google profile gaining more traffic. Because when you start looking at your traffic, when you start looking at your content, more people are going to start looking at your content and they're like, okay, this is where I can now build more information, reputation, and it allows me to become more connected with people that are within my community. So the question is, how do you take your business to the next level and also do it in a way that is also very experiential for you? So if you think about it today, right, if you have a Google Business Profile, you would be serving people within a mile radius. So let's say anywhere between less than 1 mile to about, let's say, 35-mile radius. Let's just give it a broad, scope. That's macro wise. That's your TAM. That's your total addressable market, right? Now, your SAM, which is your service addressable market or available market, the market in general is going to be a service that you're going to provide that's going to be specific, whether it's a product or a service. So now, if you provide this service as a local business and you're looking to go on Fiverr or to hire an SEO agency or a marketing agency or a branding agency or fill in the blank agency, your question is, how do you win locally? If I were you, take it from me. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But for me, if I had a business that was local based, that would be doing something like this, and we do this for clients and it works, I'd be so happy to do that because I know that it's going to benefit you long term. This is it. When you have a website that is producing pages, that is indexed on Google, and those pages have topics, follow me, I'm going slowly. Those pages have topics, and those topics have in exact match text, meaning that exactly what somebody types is exactly what you have within your sitemap, which is your URL, which is technically the brain of your website. If you have it, for example, let's say for instance, let me just do it this way, example.com/ your service hyphenated, and then your city and your state. When you have that, whether it's a bakery, we've done this for bakery, so we've done this for restaurants, we've done this for dental companies, we've done this for, it's the same thing. So it's like when you do it, you really have no competition because everybody's making noise on social media, running ads that they're swiping, when you could literally be on Google when somebody's using ChatGPT, Perplexity, either as a browser or a web search on a Chrome browser or a Safari browser or an Atlas browser or a Comet browser. And they're using their phone, their mobile, their tablet, or their desktop, and they're asking a question, why is this happening? Or what is this? Or what is that? Or how can I get this? Or best this? Or best that? And you have their best seafood restaurants in city. Then in brackets, you have frequently asked questions. When you see that, you're already thinking, that's what I want. I want to know the best options near me. Maybe you're looking online, hey Siri, hey Google, hey Alexa, what's the. Because you have a record of that information stored within the database of your website. I'm being very technical here. When you have that, it means that you have something to provide, because most times people think, oh, I'm just going to rank my website on Google. No, Google does not rank your website. Google ranks your web page, and more specifically, they rank your web link. And even more specifically, they rank your documentation. What does that mean? If you have a blog, that has a completely different schema from an event page. If you sell candy, if you sell steak, if you sell journals, these are going to be very specific on your website. So all those things you have on your website, if you sell courses, they're going to be on your website. If you sell services, consultation, whatever it is, those things are going to be in the form of a sitemap. And the sitemap is public. The same way your website is public, your sitemap is also public, because you have robots and you have sitemaps. So don't forget these two things, robots and sitemaps. Robots tell instructions to the bots, that's Googlebot, that's Bingbot, about your website. So if it tells your website, hey, don't crawl this, or hey, block this, or hey, don't do this, or hey, crawl this, that's one. And then your sitemap is also where you have your connections where people are able to now scan through that, because you can have a great robots tag, which has no problem at all, but you don't have any content within the sitemap to fill the robots tag. So every time Google gives you a crawl budget of, let's say, 5 megabytes, and your website has 50 kilobytes worth of data, meaning you have an article that if you send, it's only if you were to download that HTML file, it's going to be 24 kilobytes. That's exactly what it means. You know how you can save page as, go to file menu, you can go save page source. We don't do that these days. People used to do that fancy back in the day with Microsoft. But when you do that as a page, you can see that it's going to download the page and it's going to be a HTML file. And it's going to have a size. And the size matters because the images you have in that file, the scripts you have in that file, the context you have in that file is going to be very important. And that's what AI is reading. That's what ChatGPT is reading. That's what Claude is reading. So if it's reading those things and it's reading it off those scripts, and the same scripts are being printed from Google for those bots to read through, then where are you showing up? You can't even be on ChatGPT if you're not on Google. So you can't bypass that to begin with. So if you're not showing up on ChatGPT, if you're not showing up on Perplexity, it's because you're not showing up on Google. And if you're showing up on ChatGPT and it's not your website, that's another problem. If it's showing up on another platform that your website is connected to, that's a good thing. I'll give you an example. If you have a podcast and your website is ranking for something locally because you have episodes talking about a certain topic, let's say how we cook the food, meet the staff, meet the team, meet the partners, whatever it is you want to do, meet the people, you can create something that's going to be heavily based on community and value. So by the time you're creating content, these are turning into podcast titles. These are turning into blog titles. These are turning into post titles. So if you have a LinkedIn company profile, you can have a LinkedIn newsletter. And in that newsletter, in the post title section, you have your local city, state, you have the service you provide, you have the question, you have the frequently asked question, you have the keywords, and you have the context to back it up. And then you have links to support that too, because you can't just have a page that has no links. It really is something, I would say this is not a good practice when you have an article on your website and there are no links. There's no internal links, there's no external links. That's a problem, because if you're doing that, and even sometimes I see that with some podcasts, you feature a guest, but you don't feature their website, you don't feature their LinkedIn, you don't feature their connections. That's not a good practice, because what happens is if they're looking for you and your name is not in that title, how are you going to be found? Because, like, for example, podcast, I'm using iOS 26.4 and Apple Podcasts is going to be released very soon. And when you use this, it's going to be a new update that you're going to start seeing, because Apple Podcasts has now released video. I talked about this too. So when you get the new update for your Apple to the new iOS, you will see Apple Podcasts. It will have a video icon. That's a whole different discussion. You can listen to that. I talked about it here. You can also check the replay too. And those little things that are happening are going to be big changes, because when you think about discovery, which Google has just done, they've just made a core update for Discover. It means that Google is looking for content that is going to be helpful for a local person to look for a local solution. If I'm going to look for dental services near me, or if I'm going to look for restaurants near me, if I'm going to look for parks near me, if I'm going to look for electronics near me, whatever it is that you're going to be searching for, whatever you're going to get back is based on the validity, the credibility of the website. That's why when you go to some sites or you go to Google and you see your top known brands for things that you go for normally, it's not because the Google business profile is just there. It's because they've connected their website, which backs up their strength as a go-to, which gives Google more strength to now submit them as the response to the topical question of the day. So everything comes back full circle. So if you know that people ask you 5 questions a day or 5 questions a week, and none of those questions are showing up on your website as a result, then it's hard for you to now push that. Think about it like a podcast or a blog or a film. It's the same thing. Or images. If I do a carousels will have a higher percentage of growth. There was a study that was actually done that is very interesting to know that when you look at content in 2026 too, there's way more that you can do when it comes to carousels. Now, I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can see these stats, because I'll talk about this very soon. It's number 29, and I'll say this real quick before I share it with you. On LinkedIn, for example, you get about 278% more engagement than video posts, 300% more engagement than image posts, and 596% more engagement than text-only posts. And what's that? Carousel posts. Why am I bringing carousel posts up? Because when you have carousel posts, all right, here's the link. Boom. The link is in the chat. When you have carousel posts, and this is from cognizant.com/blog/LinkedIn-statistics. When you look at number 29, you'll see that it makes a lot of sense, because when you look at LinkedIn and let's say that carousel post has content and it's understanding a problem, it's breaking down a problem, it's giving you a solution. Welcome, Coach Zephyrin. Thanks for being here. KH, I see you too. Peace, I see you as well. Thanks for being here. Simon, Sylvia, I see you as well. Thanks for being here, Chris. When you look at your keywords, those keywords are going to be very specific to your solutions. So if you have a website and it has a / and the city and the state is not within your database, that's already something to get checked. Because if you don't have that already, it's going to be hard. Because most company, let me say it this way, I'm going to clash this together or merge this together. Most domains, most websites have example.com/contact, and that's where it is. Now, when you have a Google business profile, whenever you have a Google business, this is something that I also want to just break down just a little bit. This is some geography I'm just going to go into it real quick. When you're searching for something locally, most times, more often than not, your locations are turned on your phone when you're searching for something near you, right? Like restaurant near me or something near you. When you type that in and your location is on, you're going to be searching within an API system. Just think about that. What that means is you're going to be searching within local results that are going to be happening, because Google is going to be giving you, especially with this new core update, it's not even in effect fully because it's only in the US right now and it just happened last week. So it's not going to happen to everyone, but you're going to start noticing this differently in the new year. So I'm just prepping you for this because it's already been, passed. They've already done the testing. When you start noticing that you get local results, it's because instead of having /contact, it would be /your city, /your state, /your city, /your state. And you can put those things there too. But I also want to make sure you know this as well, because the reason why I'm telling you this information is because it's for free. You can Google this anywhere. But for a fee, we'll have to talk about this and talk about the implementation strategy, because when you start having pages, when you start talking about investing your time, your money, your energy in showing up for results, you wonder, okay, am I going to have to spend money or do I have to spend time? Because there are websites that don't even spend $1 on ads that are making the amount of money that you're spending on ads that they're making organically. I just want to paint that picture real quick. So for you to have a winning local SEO strategy as a business, your goal is to show up for the right reasons. We're working with the business as well right now. They do massage therapy and they do it like lymphatic massage therapy. They're in New York. And they have something called cryotherapy. That's something I learned more from my clients than they learned from me. And I'm like, what is that? So I started going into the discussion and the details, and I was like, okay, what's going on in your city? Who's the top person in your city? And I was like, this is the top competitor. And I was like, do you know this company? That he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, when people come for these things, who do people go to? It's them. I said, okay. Now, this is the geography I want to break down. When you're searching on your phone, on your tablets, on your desktop, and you're searching, anytime you're searching, you're within something called a longitude and a latitude. Now, within those geo coordinates, right, you're having a space right now, and we talked about the 35-mile radius, right? So if you're going to drive 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles for something that you need, you're most likely going to pick the one that's 5 miles. So if I'm 5 miles away as a business, and let's say you're looking for cookies, or you're looking for tacos, or you're looking for a place to book a reservation for, a group of 5 or a group of 10, you're going to be searching for these things specifically, right? Because you're looking for the closest, but not just the closest, because you can drive for quality, right? But you're looking for the most convenient that would have the highest response back to you based on the experience you want to receive. And how that's going to be achieved from your search is what you see online. So if you're a business and you know that you serve the best cookies in town, or your cookies are warm and you love and you're able to show people how it is, and you can tell them the process, or you can tell them the ingredients, you can say, here's our ingredients and here's an article about our ingredients, and people are reading that trust already has been built. That alone is showing that, hey, we care about what you put into your bodies, because we want to serve you wholly. We want to serve you within the context of knowing that you know what you're putting in. Sometimes we don't know what we're putting in our bodies because we just think it tastes nice. So when I'm giving you this example, and I can see a butterfly, which is actually very interesting. I don't see butterflies a lot of times, so that's very interesting. So when you have a business and your business is serving that service or serving that audience, you want people to say, okay, I'm looking for cookies near me. For example, with a company that we're working with, there was a client that came to them. This is literally about like bakery, and then they're in Georgia. And they said that a client came to them. This is the first time I got to know about the problem, and we solved it. And the problem was that the person that came in as a client that was looking for, to buy, they were just driving and they're like, oh, let's see how this is. Let's check it out. And they loved the experience. And they were like, how did you find us? Like, oh, we came here. But later on, they were told that, hey, by the way, I'm 2 miles away from here, but I couldn't see you on Google. That was concerning, because how am I 2 miles away from you and I can't see you on Google? That was a problem. So I now said, okay, let me find out what's going on. Come to find out, the website was amazing, great aesthetics, great flow, speed, amazing. Everything is perfectly working. Like, there's no problem. You're good to go. The problem was the tags and the indexes were not done. The website was not even indexed on Google. It was indexed on Google years ago, like I think 3 years ago. Now probably 4, because they're 2026. But it was not indexed after that. So maybe, I was like, what happened between this year and this year? They're like, okay, this happened. We changed our website. This happened. So I was like, aha. It's kind of like diagnosing the problem before you provide a solution, because every business is different. You can't just say, oh, SEO is for everyone. Yes, it is. But your specific solution is dependent on the problem that you want solved. And if that problem is specific, you're going to have a specific flow or a specific standard operating procedure. So we said, okay, let's fix this problem. We connected them back to Search Console. We started connecting the pages back too. And we realized there was a specific word, which I wouldn't say, that we realized that was giving people $16 per click that people are paying for that they could get for free. So I was like, what? Then the next time I saw it's $32, I said, no way. So I said, hey, we need to turn this into organic feedback. And that's how we switched everything up. And now when people are searching for something specific that they also provide within their business which is very easy to say, which is very easy to do, but the technical setup allowed them to now gain back their visibility. And now they're just making orders. And now the butterfly has flown away. So it's perfect that when you just find the problem, you find the solution, okay, this got to be fixed. This is the problem. All right, let's fix this problem and let's solve it. If your tire is flat, you know that you need air in your tires. That's not a problem that you can't fix. So when you think about the goal and you think about the timeline on how these things are going to implement into your business, into your strategy, when you have these keywords, when you have these phrases, when you have these content things that I can call them as opportunities for you to show up online, then you're using blogs as a way to show the same traffic. Because people really undermine blogs and they say, oh yeah, blogs. Even the word blogs is very informal. If I say article, if I say edition, if I say newsletter, it sounds official or semi-formal. But if I say blog, it's like, yeah, blog. But if you really know that this is actually news, this is actually data, this is actually insights, this is analytics for you, this is going to be intelligence for you, why wouldn't you do it? Look at Canva. Before Canva became Canva, Canva was writing blogs. Canva has blogs on blogs on blogs on blogs. Articles on articles on articles on articles. And that traffic is what turned those articles into tools that people now sign up and now use for free and turn that into Canva Pro. So why wouldn't you do the same thing too if your business can do the same thing for the audience that you provide value on, instead of showing up on social media, trying to post 3 times a day, and that post is going to give you about 0.7% at least of engagement if you calculate the impressions when you total the number of followers you have. That's why companies and creators today focus more on niche micro influencers than just millions of pages, because it's not in the numbers, it's in the quality. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, Celeste, what your thoughts are. And if you're available, Dr. Fashion, please let us know too. What are your thoughts on this, Celeste, when it comes to content and delivery? Let's just keep it simple. Content and delivery.
I was still reading the LinkedIn statistics that you put in. Those are interesting. I've been trying to be more active on LinkedIn, so thanks for posting that. Okay, content and delivery when it comes to local SEO. For me, I think, this is a tricky one for me because I'm someone that likes to almost hyper focus on one thing. It's because I have a service-based business. I feel like when you have a service-based business, marketing is a little less complicated because generally speaking, you're only providing those services in your one area, unless you have this crazy amazing way that you can get other people to work for you all across the US. But the average service-based business is just going to be looking for people in their local area. So when it comes to, hold on, yes, huh? What? Okay, got push this. And then when you were talking about content, it's kind of the same rules apply strategy, in my opinion. Sure, you can post all different kinds of content, but how is that content going to actually bring you clientele? That's always my main rule of thumb. So, you always want to make sure you're localizing that content, geotagging it. And at the end of the day, to me, okay, we're talking about, I know all different kinds of content, but my brain goes to social media. Social media is a whole nother beast, but as much as you can, just try to keep that content localized and keep your eye on the prize. I think, especially social media, likes and follows are cool, but to me, if that doesn't end up with some kind of profit, then I don't really care too much, if that makes sense. So, okay, back to you.
Thank you, Celeste. That's true. It's so true about the engagement part, because you don't want to burn energy or waste energy. You want to turn that energy. It's like when you're burning calories, you're doing it for a reason. So you don't want to burn energy or burn resources that you could have utilized and turned into assets that you could expand on. So even if it depreciates by 0.5 or 1% every year, at least you've been able to think through a 3-year, 5-year, 7-year IPO timeline, 10-year, decade strategy. So I look at it from that perspective and I'm like, okay, locally, if I'm going to be serving candles or if I'm going to be serving candy, what's going to be the difference between those two, and what are people going to look for to find the best? If you know that people are serving a specific audience, then it's specifically to serve them. We have a client that we worked with too. They focus on vegan makeup. I didn't even know there was a thing like that. And now there's something like that. So you ask yourself, there's so many things people don't know, and they're also problem aware, but sometimes they're also not even problem aware. So when you look at engagement, LinkedIn is one of the best places, because we're talking about Google Business Profile. LinkedIn will be one of the best places for you to show up and write content consistently. That's somewhere I've been. Right now, my LinkedIn is at 18.4K connections. So I know that the connections that I'm connecting with people on a daily basis, it's growing. So I'm posting content, it's reposted, there's content, even people that don't follow me, companies like the post. So I'm like, okay, that's a signal. That makes sense because it's B2B. Instagram is B2C. So like you're saying, Celeste, if you're thinking about services, definitely, even if you have products, have a company profile. We have a company that we're working with, they do towing trucks. So they're competing against other companies that have towing trucks in a specific location in Georgia. So now we want to position them so that they can also be able to factor that. You know how people need a towing truck every day? So when we start looking at those numbers and start targeting within the pages, we're now indexing and putting things together. They were not on Google. They didn't even have a LinkedIn account. We've just set it up recently. But they have an active business. They're in business. They're legit. But social-wise, digital-wise, the footprint is not there. And where we can't, they know that if they're there, they're going to spend less money on running ads. So you can't run ads and then stop running ads and then stop your business. It's not a scalable strategy to run ads and you don't have organic feedback. I'd rather have so much organic feedback that I can run ad campaigns and instead of me running advertisements. Let me say it that way. You can advertise for branding. There's brand awareness advertising, but some people run ads majorly to make sales. But if you're running ads for brand awareness, but you're making sales outside running ads or paid ads, and you're getting earned media instead of just media in general, then you're winning. You're 100% winning. So the engagement on LinkedIn is way higher than the engagement on Instagram. Instagram is about like less than 1%. If you really do the math and check your analytics and see. On LinkedIn, the link I put in the chat, if you go to number 23, you'll see that the engagement rate, LinkedIn has an average engagement rate of 3.8%. And there are 134.5 million users that log into LinkedIn every day that spend less than 15 minutes per session. What does that mean per session? It means that for one session, they're spending 15 minutes. So how many sessions will it take one user to find your content on their LinkedIn when the LinkedIn platform itself has a population of 1.1 billion members? So if we're talking about a 3.8% engagement rate, it means that not a lot of people are writing content. That means demand is high, supply is low. Instagram is 0.7. There's so much supply. But it's a different brand. It's a different business. It still does well. It's B2C. It's a completely different setup from B2B. When you start thinking about B2B versus B2B and stop comparing apples to oranges, you realize if you really want to be in business, it's LinkedIn. So when you have a LinkedIn business profile, a Google business profile, a Bing business profile, then you are in business because people can find your content, and they can find your contacts, they can find your website. I don't run ads. We help you run ads. If you want to run ads on a billboard near you, we can help you. If you want to run ads on Pinterest, we'll make that happen. If you want to run ads on social media, that's possible. We'll be able to do that and make it happen. But Internally, as a business, to do outreach, it's more inbound. We connect with over 10,000 subscribers via email. And please click the link above if you want to get emails like this. And we connect. And the way it goes out, it's amazing. The podcast now is I have about 637 episodes out now. And I've looked at the engagement rate that is spinning, and I've realized that with podcasting, it's like it's a nesting ground. Let me say it that way. Podcasting is a nesting ground. The more eggs you put in that nest, the more you're going to hatch over time. Think about hatching. When an egg hatches, it's a lot. Like you think about think about a fruit. If you get, an orange and then you have all the seeds in the orange, if you have a watermelon, just think about what you're getting. You're getting more than what you gave in, right? So if that is going to be the multiplication effect, right? I'm going somewhere with this. If you have a lot of buckets to fill and you have 90 days to fill these buckets, knowing that in the next 90 days, you could be benefiting because the articles, the blogs, the newsletters, the podcasts that you did in January, that you talked about for April, is showing up in April because people are talking about it in April, but you knew about it in January. That's a big deal. So before you know it, you've built a full system that is going to help your business grow. And before you know it, you don't have to run ads. Because a lot of businesses run ads because they want to sustain their business. And I can see you do organic or paid. Imagine if you have 0 paid and 20,000 organic leads or 20,000 organic traffic and you're converting at less than 5%, and SEO is anywhere between 16 to 33% and above because it's specific. So if it's very specific and you're trying to fight for the 0.7% on Instagram, post 3 times a day or times a week, but you're on LinkedIn doing the same amount of effort, you get a higher output of results and a higher yield cumulatively, compound-wise, interest-wise, because if you write something today and you post content on LinkedIn tomorrow and you link the link to the last link that you linked on LinkedIn the last time you posted on LinkedIn, before you know it, your links are just turning into a spiral web and a semantic web. So people will click on this link, they find this link. Hey, click this, click that. Before you know it, your click rates go up, LinkedIn realizes it, you start showing up on feeds, and you start building. The same thing with YouTube, the same thing with your social media, because you have a Google business profile. But if you don't do these things specifically, it's going to harm your profile because to begin with, Google does not even know you have a website because you've not connected your property to the console. So if you don't have these things, it's not going to fly. So it's just very important to look at them at a long-term basis so that you're able to understand what it means for you. So I hope this is helping you. And if you have any questions, put it in the chat because we're going to be done in the next couple of minutes from now. Namo, thanks for being here and welcome to the room. We'd love to hear your question, thoughts, conversation. The floor is yours. Namo, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Okay. I have some doubt because my doubt is SEO. Actually, I have done SEO manually these days, but right now AI is there. So, is there any possibility that we lost job like that because of AI? Because okay, that is my question.
Turn back and know if I'm getting the question right, because I'd love to hear Celeste's thoughts on this and my thoughts on this too. And I would love to know what you think after we tell you this. Are you asking what is the impact of SEO today because of AI?
Exactly.
Oh my God, I was so distracted. Sorry.
Okay, I'll go first and then let me know. So the question is, what is going to happen to SEO today because of what is happening with AI today? AI, and people have heard, we've talked about it. There's AIO, AEO, there's GEO, there's SXO. There's a lot of O's going on. And everything right now is cosmetics. right? If you want to rank on this page, this and this is happening. SaaS products are, you want to rank on Gemini, you want to rank on cloud, you want to rank here, you want to rank there. It's like a spiral web. I feel like it's like a candy store right now. But a time is going to come when this is not going to be the norm because it's early. But what I will say is that SEO is not going anywhere. In fact, it's stronger than it's ever been, Namo, because your website, if your website does not have structured SEO or structured data components as a website, as a business, as a domain, then your website is going to be losing more traffic than it's gaining. Because if you're going to use LinkedIn, for example, for communication, but you don't have tags on your website that are linking back to LinkedIn, then it's going to be a problem to actually scale or have a suggested feed from LinkedIn's API. So SEO is not about keywords and backlinks and search and all these things. Let me say it this way. AI is SEO and SEO is AI. Let me just make it that way so that you know that it's a yin yang, because those two, they have to coexist. Right now, SEO has been on its own. Now with AI, it's enhanced it in a way that SEO is even stronger. So what that means now is if you want to rank for search engines, there's something called share of voice. If you want to rank higher in a share of voice, which is another way of saying market share on voice search engines, if you're not on those search engines, it's not possible. Like, let's say you want to go somewhere today and you're either going to take a train, a bus, you're either going to drive, take a motorbike, you're going to do a bicycle, a car, you're going to take a jet, a plane, a boat, you're going to take something. There's going to be a mode of transportation that you're going to take to get to the other side or get to the next destination. That is SEO. So even if you're on social media, even if you're on sending an email, it's still SEO, because that business email that you're going to send is SEO. If your emails don't go, if it goes to the junk mail, if your emails start getting unsubscribed, if it starts getting marked as spam, that's going to affect your SEO, because you're sending information that people are not willing to receive, or they're receiving it, but it's not validated because it's not compliant to SEO. So SEO, search engine optimization, search everywhere optimization, is for everything you see today. If you're looking for something, if you've gone on Google today, you've at least searched for something today before this time, and you've searched for something and you found something you were looking for. That is SEO. If you're trying to find flights, if you're trying to find restaurants, if you're trying to go to Google Maps, wherever you're going, you're using SEO, because the results you're getting back is a result of people's web and app activity. Google just had a new update. It took about 22 days, and they just released it just last week, and it's called Google Discover. And this is the first time they're making it public. That with this new Discover update, it means that they're going to be showing more topical authority. In other words, they're going to be showing more content to people locally that have experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Those are going to be the codes of conduct. Let me say it that way. The search codes of conduct. If you have experience, expertise, authority, and trust, that means that you have good backlinks. You don't have toxic backlinks, because people buy backlinks the same way people buy followers. Those things are going to hurt your score. It's going to hurt your authority. So SEO is everywhere. So the same way you're breathing, it's the same way SEO is everywhere. I just want you to know that, so that you're not thinking what's going to happen to SEO. It's going nowhere. No one's losing their jobs in SEO. What's going to happen is there's going to be a trimmed fat. There's going to be a specific way of doing things that is going to allow your content to get more visibility. And if you don't know how to detect those things, when it gets very complex, then that's what sets you apart from people who are doing basic SEO or not even SEO to begin with, and people who actually do things that actually talk about bot control, quality control, and content control. So I just want to make sure that is understood. So I want to know if you have any questions, feedback, thoughts. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Namo. That was a great question. Thank you.
Okay, understood. That means The way is not the way you are choosing is not important. Importance is the destination, right? Whether I use AI or I use other white hat methods, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you have to be very specific. You can't just think SEO is just going to happen for you because you're writing blogs. It's not going to happen. You can write it. So I know Celeste wanted to say something. So let's go.
Oops, sorry. I did want to chime in that oh, that's how you do that. Sorry, I'm playing a game with my toddler too at the same time. I personally, so AI, this is a slippery slope. But I still always believe that no matter what, whether we're talking about SEO, anything else, it's not going to ever be 100% without some sort of human. Does that make sense? And you can do all the SEO AI you want, but you're still gonna need someone to help with like, okay, getting a website or sorry, a web page to okay, hold on, I'm talking. Hold on, okay. What? Okay, here, do you do it, okay? Um, you are still going to need to figure out like, okay, user experience because to me, SEO is one thing. You can get a web page to rank, but how do you actually get those rankings to convert? I don't think AI is that far along quite yet. You're still going to need some sort of human design element in there to really make it be like a holistic experience. So that's my take on it. The one thing I will add is I really, really hope that one day soon, especially search engines, will prioritize human-led design over AI. I don't know if that's like a far off wish, but we'll see. All right, my alarm's going off.
Good feedback. Thank you, Celeste. Namo, any feedback for Celeste? You want to say anything?
No feedback. I understood.
Good morning.
Yes, TGITD, thank God it's this decade. I normally feel old, but then when Celeste is here, I feel even older when I hear the toddler. Um, I don't know. I've never really seen I understand, and I learned from you about
All
SEO,
right, now I gotta pick
so I
something.
know it,
Got messed up
but
because you
I
tripping.
don't
Here.
know. I think that the kind of business you are or whatever you're doing, it really matters as to whether that matters, right? And I think if you're B2B, large ticket type, very detailed and specific, I haven't really seen a benefit because the thing is, I do something that is very niche. If businesses are looking for it, I don't think they really like it's not about the tagging, and I do agree with you, like the articles are really important, but I'm not sure when I do a search, and you couldn't tell me when I do a search that's very detailed, um in say Google, like, or now I'm using more Chat GPT, is it really the SEO configuration that is driving it? And you could tell me, I don't know. Is it really being driven? For instance, I did a search for the top 10, Christian producers in, in that are Canadian, right? Is it really being driven by, and I don't know, right? Is it being driven by how people are optimizing for that, or are they doing a more detailed and thorough search, for instance, like ChatGPT, so that they're not fooled? Because people have been trying to fool and game the system, you know, for so long that you know, uh, I hope that they're doing a better search when they're giving me results. than just like a tag and like optimization tools. But you could tell me, do you know if it's you doing a more thorough search of the actual content and the actual, articles as opposed to, so what are your thoughts on that?
Great question. Now I'm going to do a reverse engineering process here so we can meet at the middle and then we can understand it. I'll ask you one question before I even say this. When you search for top 10 Christian producers, what did you get as a result? And I'm asking in terms of web and app.
So, this was a while ago, but I got, links and data. So they give me some names, and I do some searches that are like over the last decade, right? And then they give me details of what they produced, like the movies they produced. So I get, like, for instance, I get a list of names, and they, you know, explain and give me the data as to what they produce, because that's what I ask for. Like, give me the names and then give me the names of the movies they produced. Like, if I said, for instance, I remember this one better. If I said top 10 like Christian or top 10 Canadian producers and things like that, then I might get like, okay, James Cameron, and then they show me like Titanic and Avatar. Like, that's an example that I could remember. That's how they would do it. Just an example that we could work with, because I don't remember the other one.
Okay, that's a great question. So I'll say this really quickly because I have a call in 6 minutes and I want to make sure that we answer every question here and this solution is provided today. And this is a very great question, which will actually put today's room into a good way to understand what local SEO means as a solution when you have a Google business profile and you want to win. Because we want to focus on those specific metrics. Those are the key performance indicators we want to look at. So noticing that when you have a business, when you have a website, because your website is submitted to Google, Google knows your name. It's like you know your name, but you don't have an ID that says what your name is. Let me just give you that example. So you said top 10 Christian producers. So people who are searching in Canada, and this is something free that you can always check out, guys. It's called serpapi.com. And when you go to Canada, you'll see that there are 36.1 million people. So I'm typing in top 10 Christian producers. I'm going to do a search. Here we go. It's going to search. And when your website searches, let me just give you guys something really quick. If your website loads more than 2.5 seconds, that's a problem. I won't go too much into detail, but if you go to gtmetrics.com with an X and gtmetrics.com with an X and scan your website and you see that your page loads and you're seeing somewhere that it's showing like a D or an E or an F, that's a problem because Google scans websites faster than 2.5 seconds. So I just scanned for top 10 Christian producers and it took about 1.70 seconds for Google to produce the result. Now, it gives me results from October 1st, May 9th, November 28th. Yeah, that's what I see. And every one of them says, the first one says, top Christian music producer reveals top 10 gospel songs. So that tells me there's top there. And then there's another top where it says top worship and praise. That is the name of the YouTube channel. Now, Google has picked that in Canada for that result. So that person that has a YouTube video has talked about that in October. We're in March. That's November, December, January, February, March. So if you searched and you said that you had searched for this before October, you're not going to see that result. This is why I'm saying SEO is not a one and done. So if you have been searching through web and you came last month or last week or last year and you see something new, it's going to come to, of course, you're going to get a different result, but I'm looking at the location API right now. I'm not even looking at mygoogle.com. I'm looking at what the search engines are actually saying. When I scroll down, the questions are, who are the top 10 Christian artists? It keeps going on. The first link I see after YouTube is Billboard, billboard.com. Then there's Facebook. Then there's Reddit. Then there's Rapzilla. And these are all blogs. Yeah, there we go. There's a chart. billboard.com/chart/Christian-producers. So billboard.com has the word Christian producers in their URL. This is what I was talking about in the beginning of the room. This is why SEO is so important. Yes, Billboard is a big name, but the reason why they're a big name is because they have data or data, tomatoes. They have intelligence, they have information. So if you know that they are a brand you can recognize and validate, it's because they have it. Wikipedia is another example. So because they have the word Christian producers in their URL, that's all they have is billboard.com slash, then I'm looking for top 10. Now they've given me that. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna click on that billboard link and I'm gonna get all the top 10 in Canada. And it's giving me charts. So it's not gonna just give me US charts, it's giving me the Billboard Hot 100. So that's what it's giving you, and that's what happens. So to answer your question, SEO is still valuable, it's still valid. It's something that you're going to still have to do. And of course, we can't answer this question in 2 minutes. But to your question, SEO is important. And if you want to be that result and not Billboard, you need to have something in your database that will actually validate that through social media and other people validating that because you have communications through email and social. Does that help?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I appreciate
You
it.
are welcome.
Also, I bet someone could write a blog on this and easily outrank Billboard, because also Billboard's charging a subscription fee just to view that info. Just wanted to put that there.
Yeah, I went to the website and you can't even see the charts. You can see the Google result, and that's called tokenization, but you can't go past it. Like, it's literally the page is loaded, but it's not loading anything. It's showing you ads the week of. This chart is now only available to pro subscribers. Exactly what Celeste said. I just clicked on the link. So you'd have to pay a subscription to Billboard to even see that top 10 that you asked Google. So you see where I'm going with this? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I just have the companies listed.
hmm
And I'm not. I could write an article, but I'm retired from that. So,
Right.
but it would be easy to overtake that. Yeah.
Exactly. So the point of today is, if you have a local business and you don't have the words that people type in your domain as a listing, then you have no conversation on social.
Yep, and my answer to Jason, because I know you're running out of time, is both. Both is the answer. Hopefully that answers the question.
Exactly. Thank you all for being here. If you want to get more stuff like this, click the link above. I'm sending out an email this evening, so I'm going to be doing something really special. So click the link above, join the newsletter with 10,000 of us there. Connect with me on LinkedIn, over 18,000 connections. Let's talk, let's have a conversation, let's solve this problem, because what you've just heard today is 5% of acquisition, but we need to turn that to 90% so you can teach it to your audience, teach it to your team, teach it to yourself, and just learn as we go, because the more we know, the more we don't. So have a blessed day. Enjoy yourself. Listen to WeDon'tPlayPodcast.com show on your favorite podcast show. And I look forward to connecting with you soon as well. And Nick, thank you for saying that too. GTP is using Google Ads. Companies that have been using ads for years. The company is still top, and what did you say? As top results for each market. Yeah, that's true. And definitely the budget is going to change based on the search volume, because every search, like when March now, so happy Women's History Month, next month is going to be Easter, before you know it. So every search has a completely different volume, and if you can plant the right seeds at the right time, when it rains and it pours, you'll be the one that will be actually collecting the results and the market share, because it's unsaturated. So with that said, have a blessed day, enjoy your weekend, and I'm gonna see you guys. And also check your clocks on Sunday, daylight savings. So I'm gonna see you guys next week. Bye for now.
Thank you.
If you have reached this point of the episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I hope this has helped you, given you some insight, because every time I come on here, or anytime I bring somebody on here, a guest, a speaker, anyone that is of relevance to you listening, is always going to give you educational value, definitely entertainment value, and most importantly, empowerment value. So thank you for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show every day. if you want to reach out to me, you know where to find me. Click the links in the description or go to info@playinc.online, info@playinc.online, and book a call. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk SEO. Let's talk marketing. Let's talk business. Let's talk scaling. And I look forward to meeting you and learning more about you and your business. Till we meet in the next episode, have a blessed evening. Have a blessed day, night, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now. And don't forget, Jesus loves you.